Hey guys, what's up? And I guess this is another cooking one. I decided to do this because the last one I did was pretty popular. In fact, it was a lot more popular than I thought it was going to be. I don't know whether it's because of the recent influx of subscribers, thanks to Scholar Grim having me in his hangout, or I don't know if you guys were really genuinely like, holy crap, he knows how to cook, which my father instilled in me because he was like, it's a major survival skill these days. More on that later. But yeah, since you guys really liked it, I decided I'll do another one. And a couple of you guys really wanted me to go into a little bit more of a Haitian theme type dish. I'm not going to say this is 100% authentic, but it's pretty much following the ways that my parents, particularly my father, taught me how to cook. And I've noticed that this is a particular, at least a preparation in the ways that I'm going about it is pretty much Haitian themed. So tonight we're going to just basically have a simple rice and beans dish with chicken and mixed vegetables with a tomato sauce. It's pretty much a very basic thing that I was taught how to make. It's going to be fairly traditional. So, and of course, everything's going to be cheap. That's the main thing here. I'm on a budget. I'm sure you guys are on a budget. And what I'm about to whip together didn't cost me all that much. So, and plus there's ways of making it cheaper. So let's get on with this. What we're working with right now, and excuse how this looks. Excuse how all this looks because I threw everything together. This is pretty much what we're working with, guys. I already put the rice in there and I'm going to start it momentarily in the rice cooker. We got some chicken thighs in there. Though I'm going to say this right now, I normally do this with chicken quarters, which is the cheapest chicken to buy, period. It's cheaper than getting, even like the chicken drumsticks and thighs put together. Even that's more expensive than just simply getting chicken quarters, which makes no sense to me considering that chicken quarters and whole legs are pretty much the same damn thing. But hey, I normally do chicken quarters, but I was actually there was a sale going on and it actually didn't cost all that much more to get the thighs, and I decided what the hell, let me just get the thighs. But normally I do this with quarters. We're going to need onions, which we have over there. I normally have scallions as well, but I did not have scallions this time. I'm working with brown rice today. I'm actually able to get brown rice pretty cheap. But again, this is normally done with white rice, and I would suggest you guys doing this with white rice also, especially if you want this to be more traditional, quote unquote. But again, in this house, we happen to like all types of rice, and I'm doing this with brown rice this time. Notice the color of the water before I start this, okay? And also the little bits of garlic. And the beans are already in there. It's always a good idea to prepare your beans ahead of time, like a day ahead of time, which is the traditional way of doing it. You soak your beans overnight, and then the next day, you toss it in there. And notice the color of the water is reddish because I'm using the beans water to cook into the rice water. That's the secret to making really good rice and beans, people. You need to make sure that the rice is cooking in the same water that you prepared the beans in. That's the secret to the really good flavor. And of course, the beans, when you're soaking that overnight, soak it with some garlic. You know what? I need to do a separate video on that. I should have showed how I prepared the beans. But yeah, let's hurry up and get that done. Get that going. And yeah, start this up. Now, I said start this up. You dare disobey my orders? Actually, I did the wrong thing. Brown rice setting. We've got onions, which we're going to be using later. Yeah, we're having brown rice. Here are the beans that I'm just showing you. You can use any beans. I'm using red kidney beans right now, but black beans, pinto beans, those work also. Now, we're going to be spicing up our chicken. Now, what I'm going to do, you might notice that I happen to have my teapot on there. And yes, it's for tea, but not just for tea. I've already, gotten the fat and stuff off. Actually, let me prepare this camera so I can go on to the next step. Sorry, guys. See, this is like further proof that, what I'm doing is kind of haphazard. This is not a professional cooking channel, okay? There's a reason why, I'm working with, crappy pots and stuff like that. It's just, consider this not a cooking show or a cooking video. I mean, even though it is, it's more like if you guys were in my house and you're wondering, how you do that? How does that cost? This is me. You're in my house, and I'm showing you guys how I put stuff together, okay? So we got chicken stuff in here. We're going to prepare it for cooking. What Haitians tend to do, and I've already done this with this already, is they will wash the chicken. Like, they'll take all the fat and stuff off that they don't want to eat. Especially with chicken quarters, I know some people tend to scoop out, like, the little red meats in the bones, like, the kidney, stuff like that. I don't bother. I'm sorry, I eat the stuff. Say that's gross or whatever, but whatever. You can clean it out, whatever, but we usually take off the excess fat. And then we wash this with vinegar and lemon juice. And then there's one more step, which is where the teapot comes in. Right in the chicken. Yes, boiling water. Right in the chicken. Now, I never really got a good full explanation as to why this is done. I'm thinking today, today's butchers and such, they already clean out the meat and all that type of stuff. So some people would consider this step unnecessary. And in fact, even my wife, the first time she saw me cooking, she's like, "Why are you putting boiling water in there? Chicken's basically already cleaned, especially if you've already done the vinegar and the lemon juice." Well, I'm guessing, considering that, people who, you gotta remember, places like Haiti and other places where they go, they probably kill the chicken themselves, or they go to places where it's freshly killed. They want to make sure they're getting rid of any germs, any and all, germs or whatever that might be in there. And of course, boiling water is a really good way to do that. Plus, somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I personally also think that when you lightly cook the chicken like this, because putting boiling water just, of course, lightly cooks the outer skin, and I think that kind of opens it up a little bit for whatever spices you're going to put. So now we're going to drain this. Right? Because obviously you don't want all that hot water in there. I'm sorry you're just staring at a refrigerator, but camera stationary. I do not have a camera crew to move around. Okay, we're back. Now, how to spice this? There's many ways, and there's traditional, Haitian ways of spicing it and all that type of stuff. But you know what? I'm going to go with what my parents did, and it's one of the biggest tips that I usually give people when they're trying to cook in a hurry or cook on a budget and they want a really good spice to flavor their meats with. Adobo, motherfuckers! This right here, adobo, is probably the best spice blend ever. Ever! If you can only afford to buy one bottle of spice for your food, make it adobo. Period. There is no comparison. Seriously, this works on everything. Chicken, fish, steak, you name it. It's a perfect base spice blend to work with. It's got garlic in there. It's got pepper in there, if you get the stuff with the pepper. Of course, you got your salt. You got your turmeric. Garlic is one of the best spices to work with, period, when you're flavoring meat. I'm already putting some in here. When you're flavoring meat, garlic is to me, it's like the king of freaking spices. And this, of course, the main thing is garlic. So putting that in there automatically is a good base to work with. Now, later on, if you want to add any other spices on top of this, you can. But the main thing about, bless you, my wife just sneezed. The main thing here that I think really helps to bring out the flavor of the chicken is the garlic and, the turmeric and all that. It just by itself is already awesome. So put a decent amount in here. Now, I've sometimes noticed that you can't get adobo everywhere. And if you're having that problem, then the next best thing is garlic salt, because, you got the garlic and you got the salt. You don't have the other ingredients, but you can buy the other ingredients, It's just going to set you back a little bit more. Now, the brand I happen to be using is not the best adobo brand I've seen, but it's the one that seems to be the most prolific. It's the one I see almost everywhere. But there's another brand, and I wish I had it on me right now, that I personally think is a better version of adobo. Still, it's fantastic. It's like, sheesh, my parents swear by it. I swear by it. It's like the ultimate cooking companion when it comes to working with meat, particularly chicken. So, work it into the meat really good, right? Work it in there really good. And you also, another tip, when you're working with meats, if you're leaving the skin on, which I do, make sure the spice is also going under the skin. Like, if the skin's covering the flesh of the meat, like say here, make sure that the spice is going, you can't see, it's going in here. Don't just have the spice just on this. Make sure it's going in here as well. You're trying to flavor the meat, okay? The whole chicken. Some people I know, they'll spice the outer bit and they think that's good enough. No. You want that to get into the flesh of the meat, okay? It's, I'm going to put a little garlic salt in here. Same thing. I happen to like this particular spice garlic blend because the chunks of garlic are bigger in here, which means more flavor. So, now I think this is well seasoned. Now, what you want to do, and this is why this particular dish, this particular meal, my father always said that you need to give yourself time to cook. So usually when you're preparing your chicken, you want to prepare it like at least an hour before it's time to start cooking. That was the way I was taught, like especially when you're spicing the meat, you're going to spice it and then you're going to put it aside, like in the fridge for like half an hour to an hour to really get that stuff marinating in there, you know, because you want that flavor really getting into the meat because that's going to make it tastier, right? I say you can kind of get away with 15 minutes, but that's if you're in a hurry, okay? If you're really in a freaking hurry. Which, to be honest, I sort of am, so I'm good. But I'm going to set this aside for around 20 minutes. 30 minutes is usually good. If you really want it in there, wait an hour. I'm going to put it in the fridge, and we're going to wait. Well, you're not going to wait. I'm going to wait. You guys are going to have the magic of the internet getting, you know, the cutting thing. So, yeah. All right, back. And we're just about ready to start cooking the chicken, but we need to prepare for that first. And what are we doing? Cutting an onion. Yes, cutting an onion. This is a yellow onion. You can work with a white onion if you want. But yellow onions are cheap, so I work with yellow onions. Plus, they're slightly sweet, which is cool, right? You like that, right? So that's what we're working with. Once again, don't expect any fancy cutting from me here. I'm just cutting the onion. That's it. I mean, I'm not doing anything major here. Like I said, don't expect any fancy cuts. I'm just cutting a friggin' onion. Actually, I think half an onion would work for what I'm doing because I'm not cooking that much. Half an onion to an onion. I'm going to work with half an onion. You know what? I've decided, yeah, half an onion. Screw it. Don't expect any fancy cuts here. There are a couple of people who, what?
I don't know what that was about, but it was funny.
Yeah, piece kind of flew off. Anyway, like I said, don't expect any fancy cutting from me here, because again, I'm not a professional chef. There's some people out there who actually watch this. There's one dude in particular I know he is a chef, and that guy, you know, that guy should start doing a freaking set of cooking videos. He's probably watching this right now, laughing at my technique. He certainly, you know, had some critique on my cutting technique last time, but I actually, in all seriousness, I appreciate the tips that you guys give me at times. A lot of you people just have a wonderful set of skills and talents that I really appreciate when you share them with me. So, you know, as long as you're not being obnoxious about it, and you guys usually aren't, you know, feel free to, like, any mistakes you see, you know, share them with me. Some of you guys I even talk to, like, off YouTube, and you guys have a lot of, you know, cool stuff to share with me and all that, and again, I appreciate that. For those of you who do communicate with me off YouTube, there's a reason why I continue to communicate with you guys, because you guys are freaking cool. So, yeah, just, you know, in case you want to, and yeah, I know this is not even. There's like a really, you know, perfect even way of cutting all this stuff up. And normally I tend to be really anal about it, but I'm kind of in a hurry right now. I really need to get dinner going. So, you can cut, I mean, this is fine. I mean, again, we're not, you know, cooking for a restaurant here. But in case you don't want it too big, you know, you can try to mince it. I'm not going to try to mince it too much because this cutting board's not all that big. So. Yeah, that's good enough for me. So,
Why aren't you using the frozen onion?
Also, for those of you who want to, I was actually going to get into that. For those of you who don't want to cut all this up because, one, you don't like cutting or mincing, and two, you don't want to deal with all the fumes, oh my god, which, by the way, I'm not getting it because one of the tricks to cutting an onion up and not crying all that much is to keep a decent distance away. Don't have your head completely over the freaking onions. Keep your eyes and nose away from the rising, you know, I guess, fumes of the onions. And also, try not to touch the juices of the onions too much. If you do that, then it's gonna, sooner or later, get to your eyes. Yeah, it can travel that fast. But those of you who want to cheat, or, you know, maybe you got one of those machines that can dice it up for you, okay, you could use that. Or buy some frozen onions. I think you can get like a bag of frozen onions for like 99 cents. And that works. But I ain't cheating. I'm cutting this up because that's how I was taught, damn it. So, Now, why did I cut up these onions? Didn't I already spice the chicken? Well, yeah, but there's no reason why we can't work with more flavor, right? I mean, more flavor is good, right? So, let me show you. Here's our new pan to make chicken in, and I'm using a deeper one because I'm making sauce, and I want, you know, I don't want it spilling out the frying pan I used last time. Yes, this one is, I work with old beat up tools, all right? This thing is really old. This thing is like 10 years? Shit. It still works. Leave me alone. Okay, so once again, just a little bit of vegetable oil, not too much. Well, last time I used coconut oil. This time I'm using vegetable oil. And, you know, just coat the bottom of the pan. You don't need to put all that much. We're not, you know, deep frying the chicken here. You just want a nice light coating. Okay? And that's what we're going to do. We already got our rice cooking over there. And stuff. And some people, by the way, were nice enough in my last video to tell people, like, come up with decent ratios for cooking with rice if you don't have a rice cooker. As somebody who used to constantly cook rice all the time without a rice cooker, because I had to cook a lot from, you know, when I was growing up, I cooked a lot for my brothers and sisters, and we didn't have a rice cooker. I used to eyeball it, and I used to get it right all the time. For those of you who, you know, don't want to eyeball it, or you want to come up with a surefire way, there's two ways. Number one, just simply follow the freaking instructions in the bag, and that should help you out. But in case that's a bit too much, another trick you can do is, what I used to do is, whatever pot I was, yeah, I'm just testing the oil, see? I told you about that little flip the water in there trick, right? What I used to do is I would put, like, say about I used to cook for a large family, okay? I'm the oldest of 7. So what I'm about to say, adjust it, I guess, for your needs. I used to eyeball it by having this huge big cauldron of a pot, and I would put about, like, maybe, say, like, almost, like, a little above half to 3/4 worth of water in there, and then I would just start pouring the rice in directly in the middle. When that mountain of rice would just about reach the top of the water, that's when I'd stop. And believe it or not, I got perfect rice every time. That's how I was taught. Your mileage may vary. Anyway, we're putting the onions in now. Yeah, half an onion was good. A whole onion probably would have been too much. I'm not cooking. I mean, if I was cooking for my old family, then yeah, I would have put the whole freaking onion in. But this is good enough. This we can work with. This is fine. Because I'm only cooking, like, I believe 5 pieces. So that works for me. So we're going to stir fry the onions. You know, just mix it up. Brown the onions up. This is to, of course, flavor the oil that is going to be cooking the chicken. It's just adding more and more flavor. More and more flavor. And you don't, and another thing is, in the old days, I would have to be doing this, and I'd be over here looking at the rice, and then, you know, that shit. I don't got to deal with that anymore, because the rice and beans is cooking right over there, so I don't even have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with looking at the water levels, making sure there isn't too much or too little freaking water. After a while, I didn't have to do that anymore, to be honest. After a while, you're used to cooking, you can just eyeball things. And I mean, on one hand, I like having recipes that give me exact measurements. But then after a while, once you've made that recipe yours and you can start experimenting, you know how much to put in there just by look. And then you don't have to worry so much about, oh shit, how much was it? Half a cup? Quarter of a cup? Damn, I don't know. Eyeball a damn thing. After a while, you know how much you need. So we're just frying this up. I'm again working with medium heat here. Here's one, see, nothing major. Just medium heat. And yeah, see guys, wooden spoon. I've always had this. It's just, again, when I was doing that last video, most of my stuff was being washed in the dishwasher. So I was working with what I had. But yep, got my wooden spoon, and if you notice, my knife was different too. This is one of my favorite ones to use. This is a cheap little one, but it works. Got a nice blade, keeps a decent edge. And all that. If I was working with chicken quarters, I kind of regret not working with chicken quarters, because I would have showed. I know some people have a problem knowing exactly how to cut, you know, chicken quarters to separate the drumstick part from the thigh. And it really isn't all that hard, guys. You just got to get it right at the joint in one cut. You get it done. Unfortunately, I cannot show you guys the cut because I don't have chicken quarters. Next time, I will. Well, not next video, but next time I work with chicken or something, I got chicken quarters, I'll show you guys the cut. Maybe. We'll see. You just get it right between the joint and you're done. So now that this is starting to, we're already starting to see some browning around the edges. We don't want this completely brown. We just want it looking the way it is right now. See how, okay, that's browning. Like you see all the yellowing and brown. Now we're ready to put our chicken in. This is the time to do it. Going into the fridge. Now we're going to put our chicken in. See? Put in one. Put in two. Put in three. 4. And 5. I'm cooking 5 because one thigh is going to my son, the other 4 is going to me and my wife. Of course, you guys can cook however you want. Up to you. By the way, another tip for broke-ass people. When you have, if you happen to buy a bag of chicken quarters for like a 10-pound bag for like $5 something, a trick you can do to save time is to spice all that chicken and then separate the pieces into individual Ziploc bags for meals for the next couple of days. And this again is one of the reasons why I like adobo so much, because adobo makes a really good base spice to work with, and yet you can make different flavors of sauce or chicken with each one, but you've already done the prep work. You've already washed the chicken, spiced it up with that base garlic and salt spice, and you just throw it in the freezer. And then when it's time to cook with it, you take it out, you thaw it out, obviously, before it's time to cook. And then when you put it in there, whatever other sauce you want to work with or whatever, will generally work well with the garlic and and salt and stuff that you've already spiced the chicken with, and it's a good way of speeding time up. It's what my father used to do a lot. Like, he would just buy a crap load of chicken, like 20 pounds worth of chicken, and cut all that up and put a base spice on it and throw it in the freezer. Then when it was time for cooking, he'd just take one Ziploc bag out, thaw it, get the chicken going, then set up whatever flavor. Like one night it would be a tomato sauce, another one it would be like a butter-based one or a lemon pepper one. Like, he would find different ways of, changing things up, which, of course, you want to have variety when you cook, right? So he was really good at that, even though he gave it the same basic spice blend every time. So I don't want this to stick, so I'm going to every now and then just lift it up. And we don't want this to burn either. So now, most of the work is done, guys. What we're going to do is let this kind of sizzle for about 5-10 minutes. Keep looking at it. Make sure nothing's burning. And, pay attention with your nose, too. Like, smell it. Like, keep your nose to the air so you can tell if it's getting good or not. And we're going to cover this up. Unfortunately, I do not have a decent cover for that thing. So, we're going to have to, I'm washing my hands. Like I said, I do not have a decent cover, so just showing you what broke-ass people do. Have a pizza tin. But yeah, generally, make sure your pot has a lid so you can put on top of there. Okay? Don't do what I do. I mean, I do what I do out of necessity. I'm adjusting the flame a bit, lowering it a little bit because I don't want this to burn. And next time we come back here, it's going to be adding the final little bits of ingredients, because we're going to come back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Actually, in about 5 minutes, we're going to come back, flip the chicken over, give it like another 5 or so minutes, and then we're going to be adding the final ingredients. So, see you then. Hey guys, we're back. Forgive me, but I already flipped the chicken over, so we're now getting into the next phase of this. Not that you really needed me to flip over chicken, but whatever. Now we're going to start making the sauce. And what I do is I work with a can of crushed tomatoes. Hey! Yeah, you could buy tomato sauce, but why? when you can get a lot more by buying a better set of crushed tomatoes. It's still basically a tomato sauce, and you can add whatever flavor spices you want, which is exactly what we're going to do. And again, you know, to go with the whole cheapness factor here, again, crushed tomatoes don't cost all that much. So I'm using a big can because even though I'm only cooking for 3 people, we really like our sauce. Normally something like this I would be using for, like, you know, 7 freaking people, but this, we love our sauce, and me and my wife are probably gonna have seconds and thirds of this, so yeah, that works. And I think this is enough for 4 people anyway. So we got our crushed tomatoes, and as you can see, since it's crushed, it already has like a consistency of sauce, but it's got the nice little chunks of tomato in there, so already you got that bonus of it being nice and thick and, you know, substantive, as it were. Let me get another wooden spoon here, because we need to mix this up. Actually, no, I'll use this spoon. Now we want to spice this up, right? What should we spice this up with? Flavor it up with. Now, one trick that I've seen some people do, but I only recommend doing this if you thoroughly cleaned out your chicken. Like, if you thoroughly washed your chicken with warm water first, and then the vinegar and the lemon juice, and then after that you put the boiling water there, the stock that's left behind from the boiling water you can also mix into this. And then, of course, put it in there, and then it heats it up, and, you know, it works pretty well. I don't recommend doing that if you still got traces of blood in there. I mean, yeah, it might cook out, but why take the risk? But that is one thing you could do. Another thing, of course, is to work with the similar spices that you already worked with. So in this case, since I was working with adobo, I'm going to put in adobo, just to flavor it up a little. And again, adobo's pretty cheap. Now, if we were going to make this, you know, old-fashioned, then instead I'd be chopping up garlic and putting that in here, and chopping up onions and scallions real small and throwing that in here, and that would be a bit more traditional. But of course we're doing that for the flavor, right? And well, the spice blend here is the freaking flavor, so damn it, that's what we're working with. We're on a budget, and we're trying to do things quick, okay? So mix that up in there pretty good. And remember to always taste your food. Make sure it's, you know, something that you can work with. Just right. You don't want this too salty now, especially since you've already spiced up the chicken. You want just enough to know that it's not just tomato you're tasting. And the chicken, right now, I think has been sizzling long enough. So, let's check it out. Okay, so there is our chicken. The onions are obviously browned quite a bit, but thankfully nothing majorly burnt. And now, we lower the fire. As you can see, the chicken looks already done. It's not completely done, but it's pretty close to it, which is where you want it to be. Now, we will pour in our sauce. There we go. Now the juices that came out the chicken in here is going to mix with the sauce. And it's going to help to flavor it up even more, as well as tenderize. It's going to kind of boil a little bit in here, so it's going to tenderize the meat a little bit. And we want to add some water to this. Just a little bit of water to kind of stretch it out. Again, not too much. Just enough. I mean, we don't want to lose the thickness of the sauce now, do we? Because we want to smother this on our rice and beans. This is our nice, rich tasting sauce, because, you know, obviously because of the tomato, right? We again want to lower the fire. This especially now, because we don't want to overdo this. And now that everything's kind of mixed in, even though it still needs to, of course, cook a little bit more, I'm going to taste it. Mm. Pretty good. Pretty good. Needs a little bit more garlic, I think. I need to add a little bit more garlic, but otherwise, I think it's pretty good. Just gonna let this simmer for a little bit. Say maybe another 5 minutes or so. And then we're gonna add our vegetables, and that will be that. Hopefully then it will be done in time with the rice. We will see. Hey guys, so this is looking pretty damn good. Sauce seems ready, chicken is nice and cooked. We're pretty much done, except for one more thing. I've lowered the fire even more because I don't need the scorching and I don't want to completely evaporate this. And what we're going to do now, vegetables! The frozen veggies, remember those? Throw those in. Any mixed vegetables will do. I don't care which kind you got. Just toss those in there and let it, thaw out and absorb the flavor for about, say, 5 more minutes. Again, you don't want to overcook the vegetable. Mix that in there. Again, it doesn't really matter what mixed vegetables you throw in. And now, again, I said that this is Haitian influenced. I'm not going to go out and say this is authentic because as far as I know, they don't throw mixed vegetables in there. In fact, one way they usually do the chicken is that they'll prepare the chicken the way I've prepared it in terms of, spicing it, washing it, all that. But then they'll let it marinate overnight and then they'll oven bake it the next day, which that's good. It's a good way to do it, and I might make it that way one day for you guys to see how it comes out. But this is the way that I was taught how to cook it, and that's the way we used to eat at home. So I'm throwing in some green beans as well, just because the hell with it. It's veggies, right? So we're gonna have broccoli and green beans. I normally don't mix the two together, but what the hell? It's what I had. But yeah, there's something like, a California blend, or a, excuse the music in the background, like a California blend, or a Italian blend, whatever, that works too. Or the conventional mixed vegetables, the ones with the cubed carrots and the corn and stuff. That'll work too. Just whatever you got, because again, it's cheap and it's vegetables and it works. So 5 more minutes and I think this will be ready. Actually, I want to test this again because this is thickening up quite a bit. And I don't want it too thick. Testing it, of course. Oh, that's good. Got a bit of onion in there too. It's good. See, I'd say this is just about done. Actually, I am debating whether or not I should put a little bit of butter in there. That's up to you guys. If you want. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. This time I'm not. But one thing you want to do if you want to kind of cut down on the acidity a little bit of the tomato, you can put a little bit of butter in there. And that kind of helps to mellow out the flavor a little bit, and it tastes pretty good. But I'm thinking right now I like the flavor the way it is, so I'm just going to leave it alone. But yeah, so far this is... Another thing you can do, of course, is add a little bit of sugar as well. Just a small amount, I would say, of brown sugar really does well with this as well. So, we will be back when this is done. And we are back, and food is ready. Completely ready. I'm going to lower the fire. I'm simmering all this time in this tomato sauce, and it tastes fantastic. The chicken is thoroughly cooked. It's looking good.
It smells yummy.
And if you look over, actually let me just zoom over here for you so you can see what it looks like. It's still simmering a bit, as you can see by the bubbling. That's generally how it's going to look. And also, I forgot to mention when you're, at least I think I forgot to mention, try not to overcook the vegetables, the frozen vegetables. Just, you want the vegetables to be cooked, but still have some firmness to it. That's, that's when it's the healthiest. If you overcook it, then you're kind of killing the nutritional value of the vegetables. So just make sure that you're not making the broccoli or whatever the vegetables should not be mushy, okay? Let's just put it that way. It should not be made so that, you made it so that, old people with no teeth can eat it. You want to make sure that it's got, some bite to it. Some crunch. And look at that. Brown rice tends to take a lot longer to cook than white rice, but yet I still got 8 minutes left before it's done, so it's 8 minutes off. I was kind of hoping to get everything done before, I was hoping to get things done before, not before, I was hoping to get things in at the same time. I'm stuttering here today. Sorry. But this is still not bad. All in all, I'll admit that this does take a little bit more preparation than the last one I showed you guys, because of course you got to wash the chicken and then set it aside for a little while. If you want to cheat, you could, I guess, like right after you spice it, wait like 10 minutes or something and then throw it in right away. But this will taste a lot better if you let the chicken sit for at least an hour. Some people, if you really want to go overboard, you can let it sit overnight along with the beans. In fact, I kind of recommend doing that. If you really are good at preparing things to the side, when you're preparing your beans for the rice and beans, soak your beans overnight and marinate your chicken overnight in the refrigerator. And then the next day, you can just get right to work and it will, you'll be able to cook it pretty quick. For those of you who want to cook this a lot faster though, letting it marinate for at least 20 to 30 minutes, that will be enough. It will still taste pretty good, as long as you cook it slow, Another tip I guess I can give you guys for making rice and beans, if you don't have time to soak it, but you still want rice and beans, there's 2 ways to cheat. The first way is to boil the beans for like 3 minutes and then let it sit aside for about an hour or so. It's really best, the longer you let it soak, the better. But boiling it first will kind of speed things up. And you can get away with, especially with kidney beans, because kidney beans tend to be kind of soft. So you can like soak that for like an hour or so, maybe 2. I remember one time I let it soak for 3 hours and that ended up being really good. But you want it to boil for at least 3 minutes. And that's a good way to get your beans done quick. If, however, that's still too long for you or you're really trying to rush, yeah, you can get away with using a can of beans. It's because the beans are obviously already prepared. The catch is the rice is not going to taste as flavorful as it could be had you soaked the beans and then used the water that you soaked the beans with to make the rice. You can get around that though somewhat by using the water that's with the can of beans. And I'll admit I have done that sometimes when I've really been in a rush. I'll grab a can of black beans or a can of kidney beans, and I will use the liquid in the can to help the flavor the water that's going to be the rice that's going to be soaking in. Obviously, it works, but you're gonna you're gonna know the difference. Like if you're used to eating rice and beans like I am, you're gonna know that it's a lot. That the flavor is just not as good as it could be if you had soaked the beans before and then used that water to do it. But it's still going to be better than the way I've seen some other people try to do rice and beans, which is rather freaking pathetic. You need to use the beans water, people. That's one and then of course the beans water itself, you need to prepare it right. And I think I'm going to do a video on that, like showing the secret to making a really good set of rice and beans. Everybody's got their own way to do it. Hispanic people, for instance, have a really good way of doing it, and they're damn good with rice, period. Especially with this sofrito, when they cook it with that, it's so good. But the way I do it, I've gotten people to go insane. There's a joke that my rice and beans is called the orgasmic rice and beans, because one time I had somebody taste it and they literally going like, oh my god, because they've not tasted anything that freaking good before, which is kind of sad because it's really simple to do. Anyway, enough blabbing about this. I will cut away to when the rice is ready and then just show you the finished product. So, like I said, we are now done, so I'm going to show you the finished product of everything. We already know the chicken's looking like that. And the rice, as you can see, that's our rice and beans. Ready and, well, just ready to go. What else is there? Oops, sorry, I'm moving around too much. But yeah, that's our rice and beans, and to serve it is pretty freaking simple. All you do is just scoop out your rice, put it in your bowl or plate, or however you're gonna serve it, and put your chicken and sauce over it. That's it. If you want to put it on the side, you can. Personally, the sauce with the rice and beans tastes really, really good. That's the way I like doing it. It's up to you. You know, of course, the vegetables as well is mixed in with the sauce. So, of course, when you scoop out the vegetables, it's going to have that sauce flavor in there. And, yeah, that's all there is to it. So, like I said, you just get out a bit of rice, right? And again, I'm using brown rice this time, but I will be honest, personally, I think rice and beans works better with white rice, but it tastes pretty good with brown rice if you're more brown rice inclined, I should say. There we go. Some more beans in there. See? Pretty good, right? And then you just... Whoops. Actually, that's my bowl I'm putting in there, so I'm going to put a lot more. I'm a hungry guy. So, there. That's more like it. I love my rice and beans. This is one of the things that if this is the only thing I could eat, I would not complain. And then, you know, you just get out whatever piece of chicken you want. Since this is all thighs, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? And normally I'm a lot better than this, but I'm doing everything with one hand. What do you want? And, you know, just... smother it up. I'm going to put this a little bit closer so I don't spill anything. You know, you just smother it with the sauce. You know, grab some beans, grab some broccoli. Whoops, sorry. And there you go. There we go. A nice thing of rice and beans, chicken, and a nice tasty tomato sauce spiced up with garlic and sauce and all that good stuff. And it tastes really, really good. So yeah. And also this was really cheap. Like I said, if you buy chicken quarters, it's going to be the cheapest type of chicken you can get. Rice, white rice will do you just fine. Any other type of rice, as long as you can afford it, will work also. My parents personally like working with parboiled rice, which has a really nice texture with the beans as well. But you know, regular white rice works just fine with this, and in fact, I highly suggest you go that route because it's the cheapest route, and it's still pretty good for you. Of course, you know, people are gonna say brown rice is better, and yeah, it's more fiber and all that. But if you can't afford it, hey, do what you can. It's cheap. The bag of vegetables, again, you buy a bag of frozen vegetables, it's cheap, and you know, it's a nice filling meal for you and your family and stuff like that, and it's not really all that hard to do. Also, I need to make a correction. The last one I said that I was able to pick up a bag of frozen chicken breasts for, like, I think it was 8 pounds for $5. I was wrong. I was so freaking wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. It's actually more like 3 pounds for around $5. Yeah, I know. Big difference, right? I don't know what the hell I was thinking when I said that. That's still a good price for chicken breasts. But yeah, 8 pounds. I haven't found a place like that. I've been to meat markets that have really good prices, and I haven't found a price like that. But yeah, for 3 pounds chicken breast for around $5, that's not bad. You know, $5 around maybe $5-6. It's not bad at all. You can get at least, depending on how many people you're feeding. Like I feed about 3 people. I can usually get 3 meals out of that. So yeah. Anyway, I've done enough yapping. If you guys enjoyed this, great. Again, this is not, making cooking videos is not exactly my forte, you know. So, and I'm pretty sure there are things that you guys are going to be able to criticize, and I understand that because I'm not a master chef, and I'm pretty sure there's some things I'm doing wrong. But if you did like it, great. If you were able to find something useful out of this, that you know you got yourself a new recipe to try, or if you know ways to tweak it to make it really good for how you like eating, fantastic. Basically, I'm just putting these up just to show you guys how you can put something together that has a decent nutritional value for not a whole lot of money, you know, because a lot of these recipes out there, you know, that they want you to get some kind of ridiculous freaking ingredients, and we don't have the money for that. This is something that you can find in any grocery store, and it won't cost you all that much, and you'll be able to fill your stomach and your family's stomach with it pretty easily. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you guys later.